The morning sun was only beginning to stretch its golden fingers across the sleepy town of Elmsbrook when Jacob Turner opened his small hardware shop. The familiar chime above the door greeted him as he stepped inside, the air thick with the scent of wood polish and metal. For most people in town, Jacob was known as a quiet, no-nonsense man who rarely smiled and preferred the company of his tools to that of people. He wasn't unkind, just withdrawn, like a man carrying a weight too heavy to share. It had been nearly 5 years since his wife, Clara, passed away. She had been his laughter, his color, his world. Since her passing, the silence in their home had grown so loud that even the ticking clock seemed unbearable. He filled his days with work and his nights with radio static. Conversation had become a stranger to him. Across town, a new teacher named Emma Lawson had just started her job at Elmsbrook Primary. Young, full of energy, and with a heart that seemed to see goodness in every shadow, she had quickly become beloved by her students. But she, too, carried a quiet ache. Her father had been a builder, someone who taught her that every act of kindness was like a brick laid carefully in a bridge between hearts. He used to tell her, "Emma, sometimes all it takes to change someone's world is one kind word. Never underestimate that." She had believed him. And even after losing him 2 years earlier, she tried to live by his words every day. One gray afternoon, while walking home after school, Emma's bicycle chain snapped near Jacob's hardware store. She wheeled it in, pushing through the door with a soft jingle. Jacob looked up from the counter, adjusting his glasses. "Can I help you?" he asked in his usual curt tone. "Yes, please. My bike chain broke just down the street." "Do you sell replacements?" she said, her smile bright and hopeful. He nodded and disappeared into an aisle. When he returned, he handed her a small box. "This should fit." She fumbled through her purse. "Oh, perfect. How much?" $7.50. Emma reached into her wallet, then frowned slightly. "I'm sorry, I only have a $5 bill. I must have left my other cash in my desk at school. Can I come back tomorrow to pay the rest?" Jacob's expression didn't change. He simply nodded. "Sure. Thank you," she said, her voice warm and sincere. "You're very kind." The words hung in the air, light but powerful. Jacob blinked, almost startled. It had been years since anyone had called him that. People called him reliable, practical, hardworking, but kind. That word had gathered dust in his life. "You're welcome," he muttered, looking away as though embarrassed by the compliment. The next day, Emma returned with the remaining money and a small box of muffins she had baked herself. "A little thank you," she said, "for being patient yesterday." Jacob hesitated but eventually took the box. "You didn't have to do that." "I know," she smiled. "But I wanted to." After she left, Jacob opened the box and stared at the neat little muffins. They were slightly uneven, golden on top and sweet with the scent of cinnamon. He took a small bite, and something unexpected stirred in his chest, a warmth he hadn't felt in a long time. Days passed, and Emma began to visit the shop more often, sometimes to buy supplies for her classroom, other times just to chat. At first, Jacob remained reserved, answering in short sentences. But slowly, her easy laughter and gentle curiosity began to draw him out. One afternoon, she found him repairing an old birdhouse near the counter. "Do you build those yourself?" she asked. He nodded. "Used to make them with my wife. She loved watching the robins come in spring." "She sounds like she was wonderful," Emma said softly. "She was," he replied, his voice barely above a whisper. For a moment, the silence between them wasn't heavy, it was shared, like a quiet understanding of loss. Over the following weeks, something subtle began to change. Jacob found himself looking forward to her visits. He started to tidy the shop more, even placed a small vase of fresh daisies on the counter, Clara's favorite flower. He didn't know why he did it. Maybe because Emma reminded him that kindness still existed in small, unassuming gestures. Then one cold morning, Emma arrived looking pale and tired. Jacob noticed immediately. "Everything all right?" he asked, concern threading through his voice. She tried to smile. "Just a tough week. One of my students is having a hard time, and it's breaking my heart a little." Jacob wiped his hands on a cloth and leaned against the counter. "Teaching's not easy." No, she sighed. But I believe in them. They just need someone to believe in them, too. He nodded. That's a kind way to see the world. Her eyes softened. Maybe kindness is the only thing that ever really works. Her words echoed in his mind long after she left. That evening, as he walked home, he noticed an old man struggling to shovel snow off the sidewalk. Normally, Jacob would have walked past. He didn't want to intrude, but something inside him shifted. He stepped forward. Need a hand? He asked. The old man looked up, surprised. Well, if you don't mind. Jacob took the shovel and worked beside him until the path was clear. When they finished, the man smiled gratefully. You're very kind. The phrase hit him again, like a quiet chord being struck in the heart. The same words Emma had used. He realized something then, that a kind word wasn't just a compliment. It was a bridge, a small connection that could stretch across loneliness and pain. As winter gave way to spring, the bridge between Jacob and Emma grew stronger. They often shared coffee in the mornings, talking about everything from books to the color of the sky. She encouraged him to open up his shop's old workshop for children, something Clara had always wanted to do. It could be a weekend club, Emma suggested one day. Teach them how to build things. You'd be great at it. He hesitated, nervous at first. But her enthusiasm was infectious. Within a month, the Little Builders Club was born. Every Saturday, half a dozen children gathered in his workshop, hammering small nails into birdhouses, picture frames, and toy cars. Their laughter filled the air, and Jacob found himself smiling, really smiling, for the first time in years. Emma often stopped by to help, her presence lighting up the dusty space. One afternoon, after the children left, Jacob turned to her and said quietly, "You know, I used to think I was done with the world. Then you walked into my shop and called me kind. I didn't realize how much I needed to hear that." Emma looked at him, her eyes glistening. Sometimes the right words can build a bridge where there was only distance before. He nodded. You built mine. Over the next year, the town began to notice a change in Jacob. He started greeting neighbors, offering to help fix things for free, and even volunteering at the school to repair broken furniture. The children adored him. People said he seemed lighter, as if a weight had finally lifted. But the real story wasn't about Jacob alone. It was about how one kind word had rippled outward. Emma's warmth had awakened something in him, and his kindness began inspiring others. The old man he'd helped with the snow started visiting the local nursing home to spend time with lonely residents. One of the children from the workshop, a shy boy named Liam, began building birdhouses to sell, donating the money to help stray animals. Kindness, it seemed, was building bridges all over Elmsbrook. Then one evening, a year after they'd first met, Emma stopped by the shop. The sunset spilled orange light across the window, painting the shelves in gold. I brought you something, she said, handing him a small wooden plaque. On it were the words, "The bridge built from a kind word." Jacob traced the letters with his fingers. You made this. She nodded. It felt fitting. He smiled, his throat tight with emotion. You've given me back my life, Emma. She shook her head gently. No, Jacob. You rebuilt it yourself. I just reminded you where the first brick goes. He chuckled softly, then looked at her with quiet gratitude. You know, Clara used to say something similar. She said the world isn't fixed by grand gestures, it's healed by small acts of love. Emma's eyes shimmered with understanding. She was right. That night, as Jacob locked up the shop, he looked out at the bridge that crossed Elmsbrook's small river. For years, he had avoided it, it had been Clara's favorite place. But now, he walked toward it. The wooden planks creaked under his boots, the air cool and calm. Halfway across, he paused, looking at the water glimmering under the moonlight. He could almost hear Clara's laughter in the wind, feel her presence beside him. He smiled, not with sadness, but peace. In that moment, Jacob realized that kindness wasn't just a gift to others, it was a way to rebuild oneself, plank by plank, word by word. And all it had taken to begin was one small sentence spoken by a young woman with a gentle heart. You're very kind. Years later, when Jacob passed on, the townspeople gathered to honor him. Outside his shop, they built a small wooden footbridge over the stream that ran nearby. On the plaque at its center, they engraved the same words Emma had once given him. The bridge built from a kind word. And as children ran across it laughing, and old friends stopped to rest upon it, the spirit of those simple words continued to live on, connecting hearts, mending wounds, and reminding everyone who crossed it that sometimes, the smallest kindness can build the strongest bridge of all.